The art of combat must be practiced to truly master the canvas of war.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel and thank you for clicking on the video. Before we jump into the build and everything that involves that, I need to mention that DE is sponsoring a Sevagoth Prime Access giveaway, the full thing, accessories, frame, platinum and all, to one lucky winner. I will post a video after this one with the details. All you have to do, click on that video, leave a comment, and you will win a Sevagoth Prime Access if you are the lucky winner. One comment will be picked at random, and the winner will receive their prize on the 18th. However, mine will end on the 4th of September. So even if you win on the 4th, you won't get the prize until the 18th. I just want to reiterate that. That's when their giveaway closes. That's when they will, send out the prizes to all the winners that the creators have picked. So be sure to check out the video after this one. It's not going to be very long, maybe 2 minutes. It's going to be me saying the same thing right here. But go check that out and come back to this video when you're done and watch it. Now, you'll notice that I have Sevagoth 2, and I bought everything. I was not given the Prime Access by DE. I purchased this on my own. DE is sponsoring the one that I'm giving away. So they are going to give a lucky winner that away. I just want to, make that clear. Anyway, enjoy the video. This portion of the video is going to be very quick. I made a video for Sevagoth about 2 months ago talking about him in depth when his Dark Propagation Augment came out for his Sow ability. I highly recommend you go watch that before finishing this one, just because I'm going to not talk about in depth the skills in the kit as a whole as much as I did in that video. So if you want to get more information, go check that one out. This is just going to be kind of brief overview, show you the build. You saw the gameplay, go farm him, have fun, But just to get started, Sevagoth is extremely hard to build. He's very expensive, and before the Prime, he was very hard to get as well. He has 3 mod screens for his frame, his claws, and his shadow form. They all have formas and mods required to use them effectively. So if you're curious, I believe I have 13 forma for this frame. Sevagoth himself is 5. He doesn't even launch with a polarity for his aura, which I think is hilarious. It's kind of poetic, kind of forcing you to get used to formaing this guy because he's so hard to build. You know, especially if a new player tries to tackle him. So keep that in mind when you're farming him and you build him and you check him out. He doesn't have a polarity in his aura. You have to forma that minimum. You can't even get away with not doing that. So that's just sort of a brief you know, warning, I suppose. But just to get into his skills really quick, just remember this phrase: reap what you sow. Activate your sow. Put a seed, if you will, in an area to the enemies which is affected by range. It does HP percent damage. So when you detonate it with sow, when you reap what you sow, it detonates all that damage. And it, of course, like I said, it's HP based. So if the enemies are really tanky, the more damage it does. Now it does have a chain reaction sort of mechanic. So if you hit one enemy, it'll detonate the next and the next and the next. And so if you do have a grouping companion like Nautilus, it's pretty good. So Gloom, everybody should know what Gloom is, even somebody who just launched the game for the first time. I'm kidding. But Gloom is the most popular subsume in the entire game. It's a slow sort of debuff. It also gives the user HP back on damage dealt or kill. It is based off efficiency, strength, and range. So you kind of need all of that. You don't want to nuke your efficiency too low, or you know, you won't have any energy to cast your other skills. Exalted Shadow is his 4th skill, his ultimate. It's pretty good, but a lot of people take it off. I like using it. In fact, the Dark Propagation Augment actually works with his Shadow Form's 3rd skill. He actually has 8 abilities, if you don't know. Very, very hard frame to use, like I said, for new players. So keep that in mind. His augment, or excuse me, his passive is basically like an Aros. You can bring yourself back from the dead. You actually go into your shadow form and you want to cast your shadow form 2nd skill, which allows you to reduce the count of 5 down to 0, which will bring you back to life. But overall, that's kind of how his kit works. Activate your 2, activate your 1. Activate your 2, activate your 1. Keep your 3 on, and then use your 4 occasionally. And if you die, no worries, your passive is there to bring you back. That's it. Now, Sevagoth is actually one of my favorite frames. I do have 5 Tau shards in here, 4 of which are Tau Red ability shards. So if you want to have the build look exactly like mine, you will need a lot of Tau shards. Shouldn't be too hard for people now, since you know, Netracells and Deep Archimedia has been out for a few months now. So you should have a few Taus, or at least a few normals that you can infuse into Taus. But if you want to copy this build verbatim, you will need Tau shards. Now you'll notice right away, 5 forma. I can't stress this enough. Sevagoth is not a new player frame. You should not be doing it if you're below like MR12, honestly. He is not going to be fun for you to grind and level up. He is too expensive to do. Trust me. Don't waste your time. Go grind and play with other frames, and then come back to him when you're a little bit higher. And it's just the ugly truth. That's just how he is. He's expensive. He has 3 of these mod screens, all of which have like 3 to 4 or 5 forma. So not to beat a dead horse, but don't. Anyway, growing power. He doesn't have an aura slot, so you actually have to forma him minimum at least once. Now I put a aura forma in, so if something miraculously happens where growing power is no longer meta, I could replace it easily. Prime Sure-Footed, obviously, no discussion needed for that. Multi-Augmented and Arcane Avenger, this is purely just to benefit his Reap and Shadow Haze augment. I want as much crit chance for me and my allies as possible. Adaptation is replaced with Rolling Guard if you want. You do want duration. You want his Reap to last a good amount of time. And then, of course, So as well. Prime Flow, he is very energy hungry. He actually got a big bump to his energy. 641 is is pretty good. We do have 2 Umbral mods, 1 Umbral Forma. You have to have at least 1 Umbral Forma. Now, I have a second one, but in the event there's a new build that comes out, I don't want to have 2 Forma slots and screw myself over. Stretch or Archon Stretch. Now, if you use Diurga, Archon Stretch actually works with your companion if it deals electric damage. So if you don't know that, now you do. But if you have Gloom active, you don't get energy regen, so you might want to use Nautilus instead, some sort of grouping thing, because the more densely compact enemies are, the better this wombo combo will be. Remember, reap what you sow. Other than that, I mean, this is just sort of the build. Dark Propagation, like I said, go watch that other video if you really want to learn how it works and the nitty gritty of it. But again, 5 Forma. The good thing about his shadow is that they actually gave it more polarized slots, so you don't have to forma it as much. I have Rolling Guard and Adaptation. Rolling Guard is really good because you need to move around with the shadow, and if you want to stay in it longer, you can. Steel Charge, no brainer. Now, Preparation, a lot of people don't know this, but every time you go into your Shadow's form, if you have this mod equipped, it has max energy every single time. So when you go in there, you don't have to worry about, you know, oh snap, I can't cast anything, I'm screwed. Not with this mod. Really nice. Arcane Fury, more melee damage. Arcane Reaper, just something I like to use personally. You could use Strike or whatever you want, honestly. But I like the extra armor, and the health regen kind of allows me to stay in there longer, especially if I don't have Gloom turned on. I can keep myself up with, again, Reaper and its energy regen. Now, this is a legendary arcane, so it is not exactly easy to get. I don't even have it maxed, so keep that in mind. We just have 2 auger mods, 1 duration, 1 stretch, or excuse me, range, and then we also have stretch. We want a lot of range for consume, or excuse me, for embrace, so that way you can pull enemies. Now you'll notice in the clips too, I don't do melee swipes. This is heavy attack only. You don't want to use normal attacks with the shadow and its claws, because you're gonna just deal so much more damage when you utilize heavy attacks only. You also don't need to build anything other than its base IPS. IPS standing for impact, puncture, and slash. So we do have buzzkill and corrupt charge, so we're always at ×2 combo multiplier, and we have tons of slash damage. I think at one point I hit like a 14 million slash hit. Very, very strong. You also want range with this thing, because most weapons, I don't think any honestly, have 100% follow through. And if you don't know what follow through is, when you do a heavy attack, the more enemies you go through, the less damage it'll deal to the next consecutive enemy. So if I had 4 enemies and I hit the first one, it would be 100%. Second one would be 75, 50, 25, 0, right? So follow through is how much damage is carried over to the next enemy. So it having 100% means no damage is lost. So it's really good to have range so that you can hit all the enemies you can, because there's no damage drop off. Gladiator Might, more combo multiplier if you manage to, swipe a few times, I guess, but really you just want the crit damage. Killing Blow, heavy attacks only, and that wind up speed is really nice. Organ Shatter, more critical damage so that your heavy attacks deal more damage. And of course, Sacrificial Steel, you're only doing heavy attacks, so you're getting 440% crit chance at a base with, it's a 121 with Steel Charge or Sacrificial Steel, but it's a lot more than that when you do the heavy attack. So you always hit reds, which is really nice. And when you have Shadow Haze also gives you more crit chance than that. So again, you're getting red crits with the exclamation point, so it's very, very good. Now, your companion of choice is really up to you. In the clip at the beginning, I was using both Diurga and Nautilus and, different portions of that intro. Now, the one I think is best is probably Nautilus. Even though Archon Stretch works with Diurga, again, you're going to want to have Gloom on, so that Archon Stretch doesn't really work well. The energy regen doesn't work when Gloom is active. So how can you invoke more CC against the enemy? Nautilus has a mod called Cordon that every 15 seconds he basically groups them together, allowing a frame like Sevagoth to really benefit that from reap what you sow, right? So the other thing is you run Manifold Bond when you're killing enemies and they have more statuses. It lowers the cooldown of your companion's ability so that Cordon can be spammed. That's why I like to use a weapon like Bubonico because it has so much status. It's innate viral with its alt fire, and then if you build corrosive and heat, which is what I have, then now you have 3 statuses. Not to mention its IPS. Remember, impact, puncture, and slash. So really good. Health orbs are nice. Sevagoth doesn't really need it, but it's still really good to use in case you have like equilibrium or something, which is sort of another way to kind of counteract the energy drain of Gloom. Thought about running that in there instead of stretch, but I really need that range and I can't take out either of the augments, so gonna have to work with what we got. Animal Instinct, mandatory. Regen, of course, if you don't have the prime versions, you can just like, you know, not use the prime versions. And then of course standard stuff here. Not a whole lot going on. I'm even missing a slot. You could really put anything in there. Now, when I mentioned Cordon CC, I was also referring to Shivering Contagion. This is a relatively new mod that came out. It is a gold drop, so it's not something you can easily get. I mean, it's easy to get, but of course it's RNG. But basically, Verglass is innate cold, so it works really well with Shivering Contagion. You want a lot of fire rate and reload speed so that the beam can just continually hit enemies. When it targets one enemy, it spreads that effect to other enemies. And if you know anything about the cold rework, it increases your critical damage the more stacks they have. So it's very, very strong. You want to have a lot of status durations. They can stay cold. Sinister Reach actually works with this thing. It is a beam weapon. And then multi-shot, you don't technically need this, but it allows the cold stacks to build very quickly. And multi-shot on beam weapons is just really strong because it's a consistent beam. There's no air time. It just hits them and it's just constant. Very, very strong. More status chance. The innate is actually pretty high, so with just one status thing, it's 68%. Now, you don't technically need radiated reload. It's just a way for me to not break cold and have another status. And then of course the reload speed is nice because you want to keep the beam on at all times, and fire rate. So pretty standard stuff. Only required 1 forma, so it's pretty good. If you don't have the prime version, just use the normal one. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sevagoth is one of my favorite frames. In fact, he's right here at the top. He's in my top 4, so I love Sevagoth a lot. And I was really shocked that they announced his prime. Didn't see that coming. We all thought it was Zaku or Lavos, so pretty welcoming, at least for me. I know a lot of people don't like him. He's got a kind of bad history with Railjack and just being expensive to build, but he's really worth it now. He's got 2 augments that are really, really strong, really good with team play and even solo. So if you're into playing with friends or solo and you like a frame that can pretty much do it all, check out Sevagoth. Go get him. Now, you know, I've said it 100 times. He's not new player friendly. My build, everything included, it's like about 10 forma, and if you include the companions, it can, it adds up. So it's not exactly, good for players who are just kind of starting out. So but if you have the investment materials, I encourage you to try him. I hope more people like playing him now that he's got a prime. People are going to be more encouraged to actually build him now because the buck stops with him, right? There's nothing past a prime, so they don't have to do it all over again like me. But if you like this video, again, leave it a like. Please check out that other video so that you can enter into the giveaway. DE, like I said, is sponsoring a full maximum value Prime Access, Sevagoth Prime Access, and all you got to do is leave a comment. You don't even have to be subscribed, but I encourage you to do so. Leave a comment, 1 comment, and I will pick a random winner on September 4th. Now, I need to remind you, just for my sake, the winner will not receive the prize until the 18th when the giveaway is over. That's DE's rules. That's how it works. So go check that video out. Leave this a like, leave that a like, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.